Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television here on City TV. The Point of View usually interviews people on important subjects. We have a special show for you tonight. Ghana's cocoa sector is in crisis, and we're delving into the whats, the whys, and the wherefores in the next 55 minutes. Stay with us, and let's delve into the cocoa sector when we come back. Welcome back. So why are we delving into cocoa tonight? Well, last week we had Valentine's Day, 14th February, and there was a big discussion in Parliament as to possibly the low-key chocolate day angle to the Valentine's Day. But that whole thing belied a bigger issue. Ghana's cocoa production is in crisis. Not just Ghana, indeed. The world cocoa production is facing major challenges. And we are told chocolate products and their prices are going through the roof. What could possibly be the problem? We'll start from Parliament, where members of Parliament like the Augustine Teria of Bia East, Haruna Idrisu of Tamale South, as well as the Minister for Agric, Bani Champong, debated Ghana's cocoa sector in this short summary from the floor on Wednesday. When we come back, we'll try and now go behind those views and voices into the numbers behind the crisis. But this is a quick flavor of what happened in Parliament last week.
For those of us from cocoa growing areas, Bia, Gaboso, Bia East, we recognize that this is a very important aspect of our livelihood, because the major cash crop in our area is cocoa. But that's not even to limit it to just us. It is the entire country. And that in time past, a man hits his chest and says, "Do you have cocoa?" It means that you have what it takes. Today, the industry is in a bad shape. So, for the lack of a better word, the confused state. For those of us who are the highest producers of cocoa in Bia and Gaboso, now it is no more the case. We are told they are cutting down the trees, they are replanting. There's a confused state of affairs as far as those of us who are in those areas are concerned.
Mr. Speaker, my concern is about the sustenance of the industry. Mr. Speaker, it appears the production of cocoa is on the decline. Mr. Speaker, in 2020-2021, Ghana recorded the highest production ever, and that was 1,047,384 metric tons. Speaker, unfortunately, the following year, 2021-2022, the size of the crop dropped by a whopping 34.7% from the 1.047 million tons to 683,000 metric tons. Speaker, again, the following year, 2022-2023, the crop further dropped to 641,173 metric tons, a drop by 4%. Speaker, at this time last year, production stood at 560,421.44 metric tons. Speaker, as we speak, this year, production is around 356,235.75 metric tons, a drop of 57%. So, Speaker, the situation is worrying. My fear is that this year, if we are not careful, we may not be able to produce even 500,000 metric tons. Speaker, what are the factors militating against the production of cocoa? Speaker, 3 factors have been identified. One is the swollen shoot disease. And I know Ghana Cocoa Board is doing everything to contain the disease. Speaker, the other one is galamsey. And I know the fight against galamsey is gradually being lost. But Speaker, my major concern is the third factor, and that is smuggling. Speaker, Ghana Cocoa Board spends huge amount of money to import expensive chemicals, fertilizers, fungicides, insecticides, flower-inducing chemicals, and what have you, Mr. Speaker. And they employ labor to apply these chemicals. Speaker, we do all we can to produce the crop, but we do very little to protect the crop from smuggling.
Mr. Speaker, I am deeply sad, deeply sad on hearing the name cocoa. Mr. Speaker, cocoa has been the backbone of this economy for a very long time. And I'm so disappointed how the sector has been treated for the past 7 years, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have come from almost 1 billion metric tons, and we are now struggling to do even 400,000 metric tons. 1 billion metric tons. Fortunate that one of the factors militating against the production of cocoa in this country is galamsey.
But Mr. Speaker, part of the problem, this honorable House must take responsibility. Every year, Cocoa Board will have to come to Parliament for the approval of at least 1 to 1.3 billion of its syndicated loan. Mr. Speaker, that gives Parliament the opportunity to regulate how much that money is spent to deal with the problems of the cocoa sector. So if you say smuggling, how much of that money do you spend strengthening smuggling and making sure it is not smuggled? How much of that money do you spend to deal with the swollen shoe disease? It's a matter of allocation. And that allocation, this House can help. When they bring the cocoa syndicated loan, we must take a decision and say that allocate X amount to deal with an imminent threat to the production of cocoa, which is the swollen shoe disease. We don't do it, and then we raise our hands and say that, what can Cocoa Board do? Cocoa Board is subject to this House in terms of oversight and in terms of approval of their expenditure when it comes to approving their sin.
I don't think that the quality of the cocoa rests in the seedlings, but indeed the planting and the agronomic practices that will follow is what is going to ensure quality product in the end. I'm not a technical person to be able to answer this follow-up question, but everything tells me that even in humans, if you have a baby, you are able to fix a baby through how you take care of the baby. It doesn't matter how malnourished they look when they first come out. But in the end, it is how you take care of the baby that will lead to a quality product. I think it's same for cocoa. The seedlings indeed may not matter, but after the planting, what you do with it is what will matter. But if there are any expert advice that you will want to offer, we stand advised to advise Cocoa Board on it. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
So you heard Bernard Avle, Minister for Agriculture, responding to concerns raised initially by Augustine Teria, MP for Bia West, who raised concerns about the sustenance of the industry. We also heard from Isaac Yao Opoku, who is the MP for Ofinsu South. He lamented the declining production of cocoa. He stated 3 reasons for the decline: swollen shoot disease, galamsey, and smuggling. And he's right. We'll get into that shortly. Kwabena Minta Akando, who is the spokesperson on health, but from a cocoa growing area and a farmer himself, also spoke on the effects of galamsey on cocoa production. Then former Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu spoke about the challenges of Cocoa Board and the yearly decline in cocoa production and blamed Parliament. Very interesting. Haruna Idrisu blamed Parliament for the lack of oversight of the cocoa syndicated loan. We'll look at that as well. The expenditure on smuggling and swollen shoe disease. So all of that. But Brian Echampo, the Minister for Agriculture, then tried to address some of the issues and spoke about some of the interventions of government. So what am I going to do? I'm going to analyze the cocoa sector for you in the next 40 5 minutes or so. We did this with a big team that's been working for the past few days on this thing. So first and foremost, why is cocoa important? Cocoa accounts for 30% of Ghana's export revenues. It's very important to Ghana. Cocoa farms employ almost 1 million people. If we add those in the value chain, it's over 2 million. It's a big employer. Cocoa is Ghana. If you travel abroad and you say you're from Ghana, apart from Abidipele, Azuma, Nelson, Asamoah Gyan, it's cocoa. Ghana is known for chocolate, premium chocolate. So it has social dynamics. Its economic value is not to be questioned. And Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire control 60% of the world's cocoa production. All right? So I'm just going to show you a few quick things. Globally, Africa dominates the cocoa sector. So Africa amounts to 73% of cocoa production, cocoa beans production. And then you have, of course, the Americas. You're talking Brazil and Ecuador, another 21%. And then you have Asia and Oceania, quite negligible. That's a very small figure there of 5.4%. So now, if you look at the Africa chart closely, Ivory Coast tops all of us, right? They do over 2,000 tons. 2 million tons, 2.1 million tons. In 2022, it was 2,120,000. In 2023, 2,180,000. Ghana is in the 600,000, it's getting to 700,000. We've topped 1 million tons twice in the past 15 years. I'll show you that chart shortly. Cameroon is the third, Nigeria is fourth, others are fifth. So Africa dominates cocoa. The climate is great, the soil is great. That's what has given us the lead. So cocoa is not just a Ghana issue, it's an Africa issue. And Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, it's amazing. They control 60-something% of cocoa beans production in the world. So that's a big, big issue. And as I said, in Ghana, cocoa is 30% of our GDP. 30% of our export earnings. So that's quite substantial, all right? Now, cocoa production is a major issue that was discussed. Cocoa production has faced a major crisis. I'm going to give you 13-year figures, all right? So we're going to start from President Mills's time. We're talking 2010-ish, all right? Now, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. What do we have here? 1 million tons production, big. Then in 2011, we had 879,000. Mind you, 2011 was the year we discovered oil, or the year we went to first oil, where Ghana grew 14%, highest in decades. So you had a big cocoa output, and then it came down a bit, but that year oil came so high. So that sort of counted for that. Then, of course, you had 2012, 2013, around 800,000 tons. Some people then started giving reasons for the 2010 crop. They said the prices in Ghana were better, so some of the people from Cote d'Ivoire smuggled their cocoa into Ghana. Be that as it may, Mills topped the 1 million chart. So it declined up to 2012, and then 2013, Mahama takes over. It recovers to almost 900,000 tons. Okay. Now, we are putting the president there just to give you a sense. He's not the one growing the cocoa. But because Cocoa Board is the large parastatal that controls quality control in pricing, Cocoa Board buys the cocoa beans a year ahead. Right? Gets a syndicated loan, pays the farmers before it even sells it. So Cocoa Board is very key in this. Provides seedlings. Cocoa Board does a lot of things for cocoa farmers. They are the main player in the industry. They work with other companies like Produce Buying Company and all of those kind of companies. So when Haruna Idrisu talks about Cocoa Board, he's right. Cocoa Board is very key in cocoa outcomes. If there's disease not controlled, if the trees are aging, if the farmers are not happy, Cocoa Board can't be blamed. All right? So you see the output. Mills starts with 1 million and declines into 2013. Then you have Mahama coming 896,000 tons. 2014 was the doomsday year. Lots of things went bad, including cocoa, 740,000. All right? Then it recovers slightly in 2015, 2016. So you notice that it's like he settles in 2013 and then comes down in 2014, tries to recover in 2015. But then his last year, it goes close to 1 million, 2016, 2017. All right? So it's a transition year. All right? So almost 1 million tons Mahama into Akufo-Addo, 2016. So you can say the policies in 2017 are from 2016. So you can argue that Mills gets his 1 million in 2010, 2011. Mahama gets his 1 million close to in 2016. Then Akufo-Addo comes in. He sort of maintains his 900,000. So cocoa is doing well in terms of output. All right. Then he moves to 800. It's a decline. So you notice everybody's third year is not that great. I don't know why. Mills' third year is his lowest. Mahama's third year, okay, 778. It's not the lowest, but it's not the best, right? Then 2019, which is the year before COVID, 766. It's a bit low. It's coming down. COVID year 2020, what do we see? There's a recovery. All right. So that's the record year. 1 million. Boom. So almost every 4 years, you have a good harvest. We can see the trend. Mills 1 million, Mahama 969. Akufo-Addo, COVID year, 1 million. Big output there. Then you have 2021, 22. Now, the effect of COVID. This is what we are seeing as the effect of COVID. So every year is the result of the previous year. So this is the effect of COVID, 684,000. Very low. It's the lowest in the chart. The problem we're facing is that it's been declining ever since. Now, this 2022-23 is the lowest in 13 years. Is it still COVID? We'll explain why. So you see what we have here. Cocoa production, the gradient is sort of wavering nicely. From a high of 1 million, again, some people attribute the same reasons for that, but we won't say, look, 1 million is great. But look at this, 650,000. So this is what they were discussing in Parliament. Now, why is this important? If 30% of export revenue is based on cocoa, your revenue is price times quantity. If the price goes up and your quantity is more, you get more revenue. So if your quantity is low, even if the price is high, you'll get less revenue. And this is our second largest export earner apart from gold. All right? So gold is your number one export earner. Cocoa is your number two. In fact, sometimes oil takes over depending on the price. So cocoa, gold, oil. That's what we have. Other exports don't amount to this. This top three dominate about 70% of our earnings. So this is the production picture. All right? This is the production picture, which is concerning because these two figures it's too steep, you see. So for all of these, you have, it's not that bad, 800, 890, 740. This was a big dip, but it recovers 900, 800, 700, 1 million. So something obviously happened after COVID. Something is going on here. And from the way things are going, it's going to probably get worse before it gets better. So that's the first important hard fact to look at, giving you a sense of why this is a big issue in Ghana today. All right. Now, the other issue with cocoa is the issue of the syndicated loan. So in Ghana, the cocoa board prepays the farmers for the beans before it sells it. It does this by taking a loan. Now, they call it a syndicated loan because usually a number of banks. It was only in 1 year that Ghanaian banks came together to syndicate the loan. Syndication means they came together to put their resources together, right? And that tells you how small our banking sector is, that if Ghanaian banks cannot come together to produce $2 billion or to give $2 billion loan to Cocoa Board, I mean, what are they really doing, okay? So let's also look at the syndicated loan because this also comes up a lot in the argument. So the amount of the loan is in billions of dollars, all right? So the largest amount, 2016, 2017, 2 billion, 2011, 2012, 2 billion. But it hovers, so 1.5 billion in 2010, 2011. So an average of 1.3 billion, all right? The second problem is that this is the lowest loan amount we've had. This crop season, 800 million. We've never hit 1 million. We've never gone below $1 million for cocoa syndicated loan. Never gone below $1 million. So problem number one, lowest production in 13 years. Problem number two, lowest loan amount. The loan amount means that the amount of money you are paying to the farmers, they didn't produce that much, so then you're not going to get a lot of money. But that's not even the issue, because when you come to the producer price, the government actually paid more. And this also partly explains Ghana's deficit. Because you have a low output, you have a low amount of money to pay, which correlates. But then when we come to the amount, the producer price, it will reveal a secret. Now, why is this an argument? Finance ministers usually argue. And by the way, for these three men, Mill's cocoa is managed by finance ministry because of this. So cocoa is produced by farmers, is financed by banks. So in Ghana, initially cocoa was a production issue, so it's an agric ministry issue. MPP said they were going to go back to agric ministry with Dr. Owusu-Efiri Akoto, a cocoa farmer and a cocoa commodities trader. So Mills and Mahama, cocoa was under finance minister, Kwabena Dufo Setekpe. Akufo-Addo comes, cocoa is under Dr. Efiri Akoto. So MPP wants to focus on production, which is why this is a problem. Because the NDC's idea is, look, the loan is the issue. If we get a good loan, and what's the interest rate they get on the loan? What's the interest rate they get on the loan? 1.7% plus LIBOR, London Interbank rate. So 1.7% plus is not that bad for a loan of this size. So the focus of the sector in the previous government has been financing. Because if you get the right loan, you pay the farmers, they are happy. Then you can give them a good price, and then you sell based on the price that you can negotiate with your international buyers. Right? Now, what's the third problem we are facing? This is the most expensive loan. I'm thinking about this. The average, 1.7% plus LIBOR. You're looking 8% interest on the loan. The loan amount is not that big. And this is possible because of what happened to Ghana in the capital markets. Right? When Ghana was kicked out, we went to IMF program. So everything is connected. Low output, low amount, excessively high interest on the loan. That's terrible, you know. So could we say that the decision to have cocoa under finance was a good decision under these guys? Have these guys been vindicated by bringing production focus to agric? These numbers are big, but there's a problem here. So we have to try and explain what's happening here. You could say that these numbers and these numbers are pretty equal. So there hasn't necessarily been an agric ministry effect. So you can say, Dr. Efiri said, I'm going to bring cocoa to agric ministry. You expect production to escalate because the focus is on production. But we haven't seen that effect just based on looking at the slide. So that's something to think about. So 3 troubles, 1 God. Lowest output in 13 years, lowest loan amount in 13 years, highest interest rate in decades. This is very bad. Now, I hope that's not too much information to chew on because there's a lot more to show you. We're going to talk when we come back about a few other things that have accounted for this. We'll try and explain what the main production value chain is. Which regions produce our cocoa? Which are the cocoa growing regions? Which companies buy our cocoa? Because we don't just sell the beans raw. One of the things we try to do is to increase our earnings and to transform our economy. We must add value to our production. And in the past 20 years, we've had some companies producing cocoa paste, cocoa cakes, cocoa liquor, and some of these things that they then export to Europe and America, which are value-added products. So you don't just export the raw beans. Which companies are doing this? There was a recent issue as well we'll deal with, where some of these companies that buy these raw cocoa beans and process have been struggling to get the beans. The Cocoa Board has been saying it's because Ghana's bean is premium. They're looking for beans from Nigeria and other places. Some people said, no, your production level is low, which is why they are having to temporarily close down their plants to do this. So we'll come back and deal with that. Then we'll tell you the 4 big reasons why this number is so low. The 4 big reasons. Then we'll give you a summary of the challenges in the sector and hopefully some recommendations as to how to fix this. This is a special edition of The Point of View, a critical look at the cocoa industry with me, Bernard, with my team. Finex Skills helping us. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. So the point of view tonight is trying to explain the cocoa crisis. 3 big topics. Lowest cocoa output in 13 years, 650,000 tons. Second problem, lowest syndicated loan amount in the same period, $800 million, right? Third big problem, highest interest rate. That's 8%. The average has been LIBOR plus 1.75. So clearly something wrong. Now, let's talk about regions. Which region produces cocoa? By the way, since we got the records from 1948, and I need to thank my friend who runs a very interesting website, 30 million tons of cocoa beans have been produced in Ghana. So Kojo Hayford is his name. 30 million tons of cocoa beans have been produced since 1948. That's a good number for you, 30 million tons since 1948. Now, which are your strong regions? Can you guess which region has been giving us the most cocoa beans? So I'm sure some will say Ashanti, some will say Western. Well, if you said Ashanti, you were right until 1983. So Ashanti has been our best cocoa producer from 1948 to 1983. And then 1984, Western region took over. So look at Western region, 11.37 million tons. I'm putting the tonnage from 1948 together, right? Ashanti, close to 8 million tons. Eastern, a little over 4 million tons. Brong Ahafo, close to 4 million tons. Central, 2.7 million tons. Volta, less than 1 million tons. So these are your cocoa growing regions. Western region, which is Western and Western North. Mind you, Augustine Teria, who spoke earlier in the video, Bia West, Western North. Kamla Minta Akando, Western North. Isaac Yaopoku, Offensu South, Ashanti. Brian Champo himself from Eastern region. All right, so this is the picture you have in terms of the cocoa producing region. Now, take a closer look at this map. If you superimpose gold producing regions or mining regions, you get very similar story. Western, a lot of mining. All right? Takwa, Ninehin, Awaso, Ashanti, mining. Eastern, mining. So your top 3 cocoa regions are also your top 3 mining regions. Let that sink in, because later on we'll explain what is going on. But by the way, when the cocoa is produced, Cocoa Board will typically work with PBC, buy the beans, pay the cocoa farmers, and then, of course, they pay them ahead of time. All right? But what happens then is that they just get money from the beans. But now, over the past few decades, we're seeing some changes where now you have Ghanaian companies adding value to cocoa before it goes out. Before I go there, let me just show you quickly producer price. So this is the amount Cocoa Board pays to the farmers. All right, let me just run through this. It's been going up. So again, I'm sure the politicians will argue about this. Mills time, 2,400 Ghana cedis per ton. It goes to 5,600, 6,800, 7,600. Stays the same. So you can say Mills government around 3,003. Muhammad takes it to 6,008 to 7,006. Stays the same. 2019, 10,000. Akufo-Addo, boom! Look at that. 20,000. Incredible. So lowest output, highest interest rate, but also good price for the farmers. So this is supposed to be good, if only the farms will produce the cocoa enough. But this is really great. Don't forget, this was the same period, and Nana Addo, they sort of had this conversation with Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana Cote d'Ivoire Cocoa Initiative, $400 living income differential. It helped a lot. And the gentleman who runs it is from Ivory Coast, but the initiative is in Ghana. Some of that is accounted for this upward slide. Great idea for the farmers. But there are other mitigating factors which is making it difficult for the benefit or for this to stimulate production. Is possibly beyond the control of the farmers. All right, so now let's get to top cocoa producers and processors. So this is 2019-2020. That year we had a lot of output. So Cargill is number 1. Based on 2020 data, 23% of the processing market. So they'll produce cocoa, liquor. Okay, basically they'll convert the beans into paste and other forms that then the big producers, Mondelez, Nestle, Hershey's, these guys will then, instead of buying the raw beans, will buy either the cocoa in form of paste or other forms, and they can then use in their chocolate and their candies. So Cargill is your biggest. Barry Callebaut is number 2. Niche, brilliant. This is a Ghanaian company, by the way. These are not necessarily, but this is a Ghanaian company. Poku guy in Tema. BD Associate, 10%. Olam, not too far off. Touton, sounds French, 8%. Plot, another Ghanaian, 6%. This is the Ghanaian government-owned one. The one government set up is doing 5% too. Serious. WAMCO, 2%. Afrotropics, 2%. So these are also foreign companies. Now, I'm not trying to denigrate foreign companies, but you see, the issue with export earnings and the currency is that if you can retain the earnings in a Ghanaian bank, then if we're told that 30% of our export revenue, so let's assume $2.8 billion of cocoa is sold, all that 2.8 billion is in Ghana. So if you want to pay off your debts, you have 2.8 billion. But if it comes to certain sectors like gold or other sectors where that 2.8 billion is just on paper, if the company that's exporting is foreign, they may not terminate necessarily the transaction in Ghana. So that the physical dollars don't come here. That's the problem. So what makes cocoa important is the fact that prior to this, when you had just cocoa boards selling the raw beans, 100% of the cocoa revenue stayed in Ghana. So that's a very important foreign exchange earner, which is why the finance ministry took charge of it. Because cocoa is Ghana, and Ghana is cocoa. And the forex from cocoa is key to your budgetary support. So you have, in 2021, $2.8 billion. 2022, $2.3 billion. All right? And this year is around $2.3 billion. So these companies are also important. They are adding value. They will pay tax. Some of them will retain the earnings here. We need more niches, more plots, obviously more Barry Callebaut as well, and more Cargills to add value, to learn the skills. So hopefully we can compete with the Swiss, compete with the Dutch, and all these guys, and produce quality confectionery. That's where we're going. That's where we should be going, okay? Now let's tell you why the cocoa sector has been struggling. Why have we had the lowest output in a decade and a half? I think there are 4 main reasons for this. The first one is Galamsey. It's not the biggest reason, but it's the most threatening reason for 2 reasons. 20,000 hectares of cocoa farms affected by Galamsey. The figure could be bigger. Number 2, there's a new law in Europe about where cocoa is produced. And if you do deforestation to produce your chocolate, they are not even going to buy your chocolate or your cocoa. Okay? So Galamsey is growing very strong. We suspect the figure is even bigger. Right? Then the other one is this one, the big one, the cocoa swollen shoot and virus disease, as well as the disease they call the black pod disease. Now look at that. 600,000 hectares of cocoa farm affected as of 2023. About 592,000. Almost 20% of cocoa trees affected. That's serious. I mean, the average cocoa farm is 2 to 3 hectares. The average cocoa farm is 2 to 3 hectares. 600,000 hectares. That is incredible. The average cocoa farm is 2 to 3 hectares. All right? 600,000 hectares. Then you have the third point, smuggling. When the price in Côte d'Ivoire is better, people cross the western region. When the price in Ghana is better, they cross. We lose so we don't record the figure. So maybe there's 580,000 could have been 600,000, 680,000. But 100,000 of that will go to Côte d'Ivoire. We won't get the revenue. The farmers will get the money in their pocket, but government will not get anything from it. So that's the other problem. Then the last one is a big problem. Now, let me just explain this quickly. Climate change is real. Why is it real? Last year, rainy season, we had the highest amount of rain in 30 years. Now, what the rainy season does is that it delays the harvest. Because the harvest season probably around November. If the rains fall too much, there's too much dampness in the cocoa. It doesn't dry early. Now, we had a lot of rain last year, so we couldn't harvest early. Now, you want to produce into January, and then you have El Nino. So you have the driest spell. I have a January 2023 is the coldest January since records were taken. So it's the hottest. It's the hottest. The hottest January since records started. So climate change. So you have too much rain, delaying your harvest. Then you have too much dryness, so you can't produce enough. Because when you plant, you need the rain. So it's like when you want to harvest, it's raining. When you want to plant, it's not raining. It's terrible. So El Nino has come in. So these are the 4 big reasons. And Galamsey is almost intractable now. Government does not be able to deal with it. You can say this is one of the failures of this government. Galamsey, big problem. There's been efforts to deal with this. Cocoa board, they are trying to revitalize trees, trying to do many things, but it's very tough. And this is not just Ghana, this is Cote d'Ivoire as well. So this is very Ghana. This is Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, everywhere else. This one is Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, depending on where you look at it. This one is everywhere else. So this is under our control. All right? So this is a global challenge. This is a global challenge. You can mitigate it, but this is a Ghana issue. Right? This is a Ghana issue. Why aren't we dealing with it? We need to find out. I don't have a lot of time. So let me give you a summary of the key insights from what we've said so far. In addition to the numbers I showed you earlier, now you're also facing, let's look at these insights, all right? So this is the lowest in 10. I already said this. And it's 2 straight years of low. There's never been below 700K until these past 2 years. So we have a problem. I've already said this. Second issue to think about. Whilst cocoa production is the lowest, think about it. This is the highest price you can enjoy in cocoa since 1977. 1977 was the last time cocoa futures, they call it the cocoa futures. So this is the best time to make money from cocoa. Look at that. $5,000 cocoa futures are trading. All right, 4,000. I mean, I have this up to 1975. This is the highest we are selling, or people are prepared to pay for cocoa since 1977. But that could have been good news for us, but that's bad news for chocolate producers. You know why? Because the cost of chocolate is going to go up. Already, globally, there's a food inflation crisis. There's inflation of food everywhere. Now, you also have the highest price of sugar in the past 10 decades. Well, by the way, the figure I showed you here, let me go back. The figure I showed you here, that this price, it means that you can buy 50 barrels of oil with one ton of cocoa. That's just a fun fact for you. So 1 ton of cocoa can now buy 50 barrels of oil. That's relative importance. And by the way, if you look at Ghana's figures, our export earnings for 2023 last quarter, gold gave us about 4.6 billion. Cocoa gave us 1.6 billion just for that quarter. Oil gave us 2.3 billion. All right. So it tells you that price, this high price is something we could have cashed in on as a country. Highest since 1977. But if you couple that with what is happening with sugar prices in 2023 end of year is the highest in 10 years. What does that mean? Cocoa price is high, sugar price is high. So all the chocolate in the world is going to get expensive, which is why the Valentine was a bit low-key. So you have a very high raw material. So all these big companies, Mondelez, Hershey's, Nestle, all these big companies globally that produce chocolate and confectionery, they are going to feed into the food inflation that we are having globally as well. We are in a food inflation crisis globally. All right? So that's just by the way. Now, the other point is Ghana's output of 580,000 tons, which is the lowest in 13 years, is not alone. Cote d'Ivoire's output is also their lowest in 7 years. So it's not a Ghana alone problem. All right? And I'm trying to say this so that we have a more nuanced, careful analysis. It's very easy to do NDC MPP, to say MPP is better, NDC is better. What we need to do is to find a way of guaranteeing good output, deal with galamsey, fight climate change, and also deal with the disease in a holistic, nationalistic manner. Cocoa should be depoliticized. This is my view, right? Because Cote d'Ivoire's cocoa production is not as politicized as Ghana, right? I'm not sure they talk about NDC MPP, who produces more. Cote d'Ivoire is strategic in cocoa. Ghana Cocoa Cote d'Ivoire Initiative, we should think about it that way. So we tried something we call the living income differential. The Western world, who really buy the chocolate, didn't really agree with it, and some people felt they wanted to sabotage. Even this so-called European regulation on cocoa sourced from non-deforestation, a lot of people think it's because they are trying to push back. All right? But Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire face challenges, diseases spreading, trees are too old, farmers are too old. In Ghana, the other problem is that people are selling their cocoa farms to people to do galamsey. Right? There's this myth in the cocoa growing areas that for every cocoa farm, there's gold underneath. And because there's a challenge with production, people are not sure, the swollen shoot disease is killing cocoa trees. A lot of cocoa farmers are selling their cocoa farms to galamseyers. That is a problem. That is a major problem. So the output could decline. And don't forget the chart I showed you, the 4 main factors. Galamsey is within our control, which is why in the interview, Minta Akando was telling you about galamsey. All right? All of us will face the swollen shoot, but galamsey is going to make our output worse. Now, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire have faced challenges with limited supplies. Disease are spreading rapidly. Harmattan winds, as I said. January is too dry, so the production level is going to go lower. We had a terrible harvest last year because it rained too much. And this total effect of climate change is that we are going to have over 300,000 tons of cocoa affected. Let that sink in. 300,000 metric tons of cocoa affected by climate change. That is terrible. All right? Let me just put that up again. Yes, 300,000 tons shortage. There was a 300,000 ton shortage in the 2021-2022 crop season because of climate change. All right? Now, let's get another point. Yes, this is the issue. The EU's deforestation regulation will impact cocoa exports in several ways. They're basically saying that if your cocoa is sourced from a place which is suffering deforestation, we're not going to buy it. They'll trace the cocoa. And look at it. The link between galamsey and cocoa, and galamsey also involves cutting trees. There's also a lot of deforestation, right? So this is a challenge. This is a challenge. We'll wrap up when we come back with a few recommendations, but this is the final point I want to make on the key insights, that the government of Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana introduced the living income differential. Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire need to find a way of working together to salvage our cocoa, and we'll share a few ideas around what to do. But this is just the state of play with our cocoa sector on the point of view. Stay with us. To wrap up, we've showed you a historical record of low production. We've given you the 4 big reasons why cocoa production has gone low. The cocoa prices have gone up on the world market because of low production. Galamsey has to be back on the front burner, because not only does it threaten our output, it also threatens the acceptability of our cocoa from the main buyers. So galamsey has to be seriously dealt with by this government and whichever government comes after it. Number 2, strengthen the research side. CRIG, Cocoa Board research, because these viruses is in addition to all the things around giving them spray and all of those things you want to do more research into producing more resilient variants of the product. I've already told you that climate change is destroying a lot of us. 300,000 tons lost in production because of climate change. Look, COP29, COP30, we have to get serious about climate change and start. Of course, we know globally, Africa is a net. We are not that bad when it comes to climate change, but there's a climate fund which you can tap into to say, look, 300,000 tons of our cocoa was lost because of climate change, and we are not the main cause of climate change. So when they go for the next COP, we must make a case for financing from the people who really do this climate pollution, because the extremities of weather are caused by that, and there's a direct effect on our production. Now, the other point is that because for a long time, cocoa is the only export that you retain 100% earnings. Cocoa Board has been very strong. But we need to depoliticize Cocoa Board. We need to create an institution that's, I know it may be idealistic, but that's really MPP, NDC agnostic. Keep them professional. Because you see, the trend is there. It's affecting all of us. Right? So the idea that when a government comes, everybody's moved, it's not the best, because the Ivorians have an edge over us. For them, there's a continuity in the way they manage their cocoa. Speak to Asamvo, the guy who runs the Ghana Cote d'Ivoire Cocoa Initiative. So we need to depoliticize the debate and deal with the issues that affect production so that we can... Look, cocoa has over 2 million dependents. Cocoa scholarships, 1 million farmers. Lots of them are too old. And the last point, value addition. We need more niche cocoas. We need more plots. We need more cargills. Because the more you add value, you pick a bar of chocolate and the cocoa farmer gets less than 5% of the final price. That is just unbelievable. A bar of chocolate, even if it costs whatever, 10 pounds, the cocoa farmer gets less than 5% of that. If you calculate the chain, the truck driver, the guy who does the processing. Clearly, cocoa is not lifting people out of poverty enough because we have not given it the attention we ought. And I think Cocoa Board should also be humble to admit that it doesn't know it all. Because the worse this output gets, we're already having a currency crisis. Ghana's forex issues. The dollar will end the year at 13.4. We've spoken about how companies must be made to retain their export earnings. Not just the money transfer companies, not just the gold producing companies, not just the normal export companies, even the cocoa export companies as well. Because there's a loophole that's been exploited where companies will export and report a certain figure, but the bank that gets the revenue is not terminating in Ghana. So the government must take this export thing very seriously because it affects everything. If we can do that, as I'm talking to you, the Zimbabweans, and we tried it with the gold for export, gold for oil, they maintain a lot of their gold bars in country to support the currency. The exchange rate is possibly the most important indicator of economic welfare in Ghana. And export earnings are key to bringing stability to it. And I think the Bank of Ghana, the Ministry of Finance, and all economic agents must work together to find a way to revive the fortunes of the cocoa sector beyond just Cocoa Board. This is beyond Cocoa Board. This is a national issue. Let's not be sentimental about it. And let's work together to resolve the matters. So even between now and election, I still think there's a lot we can do. Because as the elections appear, lots of politicization is going to come. Let's try and keep Cocoa Board out of that, which is why we've shown you figures for the trends for the whole time. It's not just a one-party issue. If we can do that, I'm sure we'll do well for our cocoa farmers and the future would be great. So thank you for watching tonight's edition of The Point of View. It's been a quick overview of the cocoa sector with some recommendations on what to do to salvage a very critical sector. We'll be on social media for those of you who want a second watch. If you're on YouTube, please like the video and share with your followers as well. My name is Bernard Avle. Big thanks to Finex Skills Hub, who are the best in data visualization. Give them a call. They will help you do the kind of thing I just did. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.